We're going to dive into a really fascinating idea today that the biggest changes in our lives, the ones that really matter, don't come from some huge dramatic events. Nope, they come from the small, almost invisible things we do day in and day out. You ever look at someone and just wonder, how are they doing it? They're making all this progress and it just seems so effortless. You can't help but think, what's the secret? It's a feeling we've all had, for sure. Well, here's the thing. It's not about luck, and it's definitely not about making some grand, sweeping gesture. It's all about a bunch of small, consistent actions that, when you stack them together, create this incredible, unstoppable momentum. So let's get into it. Before we even talk about what the habits are, we got to understand the principle that makes them work, and it's all about the power of tiny, tiny gains. This is the engine behind everything we're talking about today. It's called the compound effect. The idea is that your little choices, every single day, they multiply over time. You know, on any given Tuesday, they feel totally insignificant, but over months, over years, they completely redefine who you become. Let's make this super real for a second. Imagine you commit to just one tiny little habit, reading 5 pages of a book every day. That's it. Might take you 10 minutes, maybe even less. It feels like nothing, right? But check this out. When you let that compound, those 5 pages a day turn into over 150 books in a decade. And that just perfectly shows you the whole concept. It's not about reading 5 pages. It's about the consistency that builds a whole library of knowledge inside your head. So where do we start with all this? The suggestion is to begin by being the architect of your own morning. That first hour is key, because how you start the day so often sets the tone for everything that follows. What's really great about this routine is how simple it is. We're not talking about some 2-hour marathon. It's all about these small, easy wins, like making your bed. That's an instant, completed task. And psychologically, that gives you momentum. But maybe the most important step, staying off your phone for the first 30 minutes. That one little thing makes sure that you set the agenda for your day, not a bunch of notifications. Okay, now let's see how we build on that. Once you've got a strong morning foundation, the idea is to carry that feeling through the entire day. And you do that with these little tweaks to your mindset and your actions. This is so powerful. The words you use literally shape your reality. Instead of thinking, I have to go to work, just try framing it as, I get to go to work. It shifts the whole thing from a burden to an opportunity. And here's a fun one. Try to go a full 24 hours without complaining about anything. It can actually retrain your brain to start looking for what's going right instead of what's going wrong. And here are a few more total game changers. Some of these are about protecting your focus. Stop multitasking. Take just 2 minutes of quiet to hit the reset button. But others are about protecting your energy, like learning to say no. Think about it. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you're really saying a powerful yes to your own well-being and your own goals. How you end your day is every bit as important as how you start it. So this next batch of habits isn't just about closing out today. It's about setting yourself up to win tomorrow before you even get there. This whole routine is about signaling to your brain that it's time to power down. Really simple things like a 5-minute tidy up or just getting your thoughts out of your head and onto a piece of paper. It tells your body and mind, okay, we're done, time to rest. And just like that morning routine, doing it consistently is what leads to that deep recovery you need. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. Morning, daytime, evening, and I get it. It can feel like a lot to take in all at once. But this last piece of advice is probably the most important one of all. So we've talked about a bunch of these 30 habits. And when you see a big number like that, it's pretty easy to feel a little overwhelmed. And here's the big sigh of relief. The goal is not to be perfect. It's not about trying to adopt 30 new habits tomorrow. Honestly, that's just a recipe for burning out. So the whole thing boils down to this. The real magic happens when you start with just 3. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. You just need to pick 3 small things and begin. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's saying, look, no single habit is going to be a magic bullet, but their collective power, built up day by day, that's what quietly and profoundly changes your future. The instruction couldn't be simpler. Pick 3, start this week. So that really leaves us with the final question, the only one that matters right now. Looking back at everything we just talked about, the morning routine, those little mindset shifts, the way you wind down at night, which 3 are calling out to you?
Which ones feel like they could make a real difference right now? What will your first 3 be?